What's going on, everyone? Welcome to this latest episode of The Final Whistle, brought to you, as always, by River City 93, your number one source for all things Richmond Kickers news. As always, if you can't tell, I have a little bit of a tan, but somebody who probably has a big smile on their face is joining us on the show today is Coach Darren Sawatzky, who's just coming off of a cup set of, I don't know if we will call them rivals yet, of Loudoun United. But, Coach, how's things been for you so far, sir?
As it relates to winning a game in the Open Cup, it's always great to win a game. Winning a game at City Stadium, making the fans happy is always a good thing. I don't when you play upper division teams, like I said before, you're playing with house money, so it gives you an opportunity to play a little bit freer. I think we were the much better team in the second half. I wish it would have happened a little bit earlier, but it was good that Luka banged that in late.
Well, unfortunately, I wasn't there to experience it live. Matt was there. So, Matt, like, how was it in stadium? Like, when this goal happened, everything, like the vibes of the Open Cup game, especially with it being another local team.
Yeah, I mean, good Open Cup, crowd. Personally, I always like those games where, okay, maybe there's not as many people there as a regular weekend game, but you can really be able to feel it. I think a lot more because people who are there, they're in it. It's not kind of the Saturday night out sort of crowd. Then so you got most people who want to get at the opponent, get at the referee. Not there would be any reason to get at the referee in that game at all, but also really erupt in that moment. So anytime you get a stoppage time winner, I mean, it's pretty hard to say, oh, no, that wasn't a good time.
Yeah, for real. I mean, especially talking about Coach Darren. Let's start off with this. 1-0 win against Loudoun. Like you mentioned the U.S. Open Cup. From your perspective as a head coach, seeing your team grind out a result like this and pretty much limit a lot of what Loudoun United wanted to do, you know, how what do you like most about this performance from your team and what they showed you in this win?
Yeah, I don't. We won the game. I mean, in the end, cup games are about surviving and advancing, particularly when you get into the later rounds. I mean, we got beat by Virginia Dream last year, and it was time for us to turn around. We got through Nova, which is always a hard game, and then we'd played Loudon in the preseason, and to be honest, they took it to us. So we knew what to expect. They had a little bit of a formation change, but they didn't change the way they played. And even at the half, we didn't think we had played our best first half, but we're right in that game. And second half, we started to really create things and have some more opportunities. We're getting into the final third more. We're getting more touches in the opposition box. And Tariq Panhauser and Luca Dorado didn't do one day of preseason with us, not one. So the fact that they're coming along and that they were able to create a goal for us and they're growing in the game models is a positive.
Yeah, you mentioned how cup matches have a totally different mentality to them, right? It's kind of like one game in, you know what you have to do. Do you, when it comes to these matches, especially with how much time you guys had to prepare for it, does training changes at all? Like the way how you prepare for these matchup changes at all, or is it kind of just like we're kind of applying the same approach, whether it's a cup game or a league game or what's the new one, the USL Cup, Pixie Cup, whatever.
Prince Tire Cup,
Yeah, Prince Tire Cup.
Mm-hmm. It's always good to have some extra time. One thing that you don't know, and a lot of times I'll say this after maybe we didn't have success. So I'm going to say that I'm super, super proud of the resilience of the group because we had 5 guys catch that 4-day flu in the last 2 weeks. So we've had guys that have missed like 5 days in training. So that's been a struggle. And the injury bugs really got us after that preseason. So not to make excuses at all. The resilience of the group, guys have stepped up and played in positions that maybe they don't always play and found a way to win against an upper division opponent. So we're going to take that. And again, when it comes to the cup game, and next week after we play at Spokane, we gotta dial it in for Columbus. We're again, it's an opportunity for us to go and play and try to get something out of a game that we're not supposed to. So it takes the pressure off of the guys.
Yeah.
So Darren, so one of the things we at least thought we were seeing, from the stands was Dak, dropping a lot deeper, almost, kind of playing and that's third center back there. Was that intentional, or were we, seeing just what we wanted to see in the stands? You kind of walk us through what maybe the game plan was, defensively.
Yeah, so with Dakota, because Dakota can play both in the midfield and at the back, it allows us to move him up and back. And what I alluded to with performances of guys, sickness, and some different things. Hayden Anderson has been really good on the left side, but Hayden's more of a wing back, and Mujib is really a guy that can get forward in the game. So what that allows us to do is shift between formations within games. So to answer your question specifically, Dak's comfy both as a 6 and as a withdrawn center back. And I think in this game, it was the right choice against upper division competition to drop him in there.
I want to ask you this question about Hayden, because I think we were talking about it in the podcast maybe a couple of weeks ago about like him playing specifically the left fullback or left wing back position. Was that something that you guys have tried out before, or it was just like, oh, like you alluded to, not having the full preseason, maybe who was supposed to be there just wasn't ready, and you guys were just like, Hayden's here, and he's just excelled at it so far. Like, how did you come about having Hayden play that position?
Hayden's a wing back anyway. He's a right wing back. That's probably his best position. We just hadn't played with wing backs here. You guys know me. I stayed with a 4-back system for a long time. I'm willing to do other things, but Hayden's a guy that can play as a right winger. He can play as a right back. He can play as a right wing back. He plays a left back. Now you can see he plays a left wing back. One of the things that we were really intentional, 10,000 foot view this year, whereas we signed guys that could play multiple spots and were willing to do so. There are guys in our team that can play in 4 or 5 different positions, truthfully, just like Hayden, and they're willing to do it and are excited about it. So during preseason, we had, the left side, we had some good days and we had some days with some more challenges. We gave Hayden that opportunity the last couple of preseason games, and he took the spot. So, when a player excels and is willing to do it, we're going to give him that opportunity. So we knew he could do it, and he's been great there.
I'm assuming his dominant foot is his right foot, since he played on the right side. Having a right foot on that left side, like, does that give you any extra advantages at all?
I think Hayden can play with both feet. I guess you look at a guy like Darwin Espinal or Owen O'Malley, they like to play on the left side and they're right-footed because they can cut inside and whip the ball that Darwin likes to hit a lot. I think Hayden's not different, but if you remember last year in the first game at Tormenta, Hayden cut inside on his left foot and hit a ball, went off of somebody. It was a deflection, but it was a good shot, and he found a goal. So I think we're comfortable with him on both sides. I don't know if we gain an advantage with him necessarily with being right-footed on the left.
Okay. Just wondering. Yeah.
Coach, so you mentioned that guys who maybe weren't with you much for preseason, guys who have stepped up. I know one guy who's really stood out to me that I knew nothing about this time last month is Ali Sasanka. Can you kind of talk about his journey to the kickers, how you guys were able to identify him, and how he's really bedded in, and to my eyes, incredibly well thus far.
Yeah, I think his ceiling's really high, man. I think he's somebody that got missed. He's a guy that you guys should interview on your own just to get his life path. He's got a really interesting background. He's one of 2 Muslims on our team, and he's been through a path that not everybody does. He's Iranian, and he came to the United States. He's a U.S. citizen. He's a wonderful guy. To be specific about where he came from, he played college soccer at Sac State. Mike Lindenberger, who's there, as a guy that I used to be on Region 4 staff 20 years ago on the West Coast. So it's one of those things where we were looking for a specific profile and found it through an old friend. We saw a video of him and we weren't sure. So we brought him out here, and within 3 days I signed him.
Oh, wow. You must have really impressed y'all, dude.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've enjoyed watching, like, chatting with people in the stands, kind of, and correct us if you're seeing other things and training from your point of view. It looks like 6 inches taller, maybe a little more attacking Zaka.
Yeah, I love Zaka. I've been talking to him. It's actually Cammy's birthday today, so if you talk to them, make sure you wish her birthday. They're doing great over in Spain, but yeah, I think the sky's the limit. He's only 22 years old, and he's got a real pathway. I mean, he's a grown man in a lot of ways, but he's also still a kid. So I think there's a huge ceiling there with him. I don't disagree, and I'll tell you that there are some tackles I think you saw in the last game. He's perfectly capable of that at any time. good in the air. He's got good silky feet. I think that he's got a really high ceiling for sure.
I mean, also some other players that you guys have signed this year. I think another player that have impressed fans a lot, the one that stands out to me the most is Jan, our goalkeeper, the guy that studs on his head constantly. I just want to ask you this: like, how would you assess his performances so far this year and the presence that he's brought to the back line, like knowing that you have that reassurance back in the goal?
Well, one, we're very comfortable with James Sneddon. He's a homegrown kid that we developed. He's played, I don't know, 40 plus games for us. You know, I think James needed a different profile around him to help him grow also, and I think Jan's good for that. Jan's a big-bodied goalkeeper, which is a little different. You know, when I arrived here, you had Akira, who was very good at playing out of the back, and you know, we played a lot of possession soccer with him on our team, and James is growing in that and is good at it. Jan gives you the ability to do both. You know, he's a big body. He definitely will give you his opinion. He directs traffic behind the back line, which is something that we lacked a little bit over the last couple of years. So, you know, James is growing in that, but Jan, it's innate in him. And when a 6'5" guy that comes out screaming for the ball, you move. And if he asks you to do something, you usually do it. But you know, he's an awesome locker room guy, by the way, guys. I mean, he's a great leader, just a good human. He's got good banter. So he's been a good addition for sure.
Has Jan made a save in a game this year that you were like, oh, I wasn't expecting him to get to that? Has he had one?
You know what, Truth? I heard him talk to you after the last game, or talk to the press, and he goes, you know, I just did my job. It's kind of how he goes about it, matter of factly, like that's what I'm supposed to do, and we're getting kind of used to him doing that. So I hope that that's just the standard. So I'll wait and say down the road that there's something magical. I think so far he's done the job.
Okay, he's a nice, polite Canadian boy.
Yeah, we like him.
Another player that has definitely stood out is Luca Dorado. Now in both Open Cup games have scored the goal that has helped the team advance and whatnot. But first of all, we know how the team got him. South Georgia Tormenta went out of business this year. You guys were able to pick him up late in the window. But like, how important is his role in the team in stretching defenses, and like what support does he need around him to be even more effective?
You know, with Ali, with Luca, with Tariq, with these guys, I mean, they didn't do any of the preseason with us. So one thing I would say about Luca is he's not even fully fit yet. You know, you can run around the streets in Statesboro, Georgia, trying to stay fit on your own, but you're not going to be like guys training, you know, day in and day out. So he's getting fit. You know, he has the ability to change a game by himself. He's also a really good teammate, and I don't think you're going to find a more clinical finisher. I mean, he scored an amazing goal against us last year when Madison came and played us in that last game of the year. So he was somebody that we were definitely interested in, and truthfully, we got pretty lucky. You know, we were looking for an attacking player, and when he came available, I dove at it as fast as I could. So good again, another really good, humble locker room guy. But again, he's still settling in, man. Think about his path, right? He signs in Tormenta, and all of the turmoil that happens there. You know, it's been really unsettling for he and his fiance. You know, they finally get up here. They're settling in. They're just getting to know Richmond. They're knocking the dust off of things, and he's getting fit. So I think you're starting to see what he can really be for us. But in 5 or 6 games, I'm hoping it's a lot more.
Yeah. So, Coach, on the Tormenta topic, obviously there's one good thing that came out of it, Luca coming up here, but also you never want to see a team fold, especially in that manner, and especially when it happened. How did all of that really kind of affect your planning for this season, knowing that okay, all of a sudden great striker comes available, but also all of a sudden there's this off week that you didn't necessarily expect a month into the season?
Well, truthfully, Matt, it may have helped us this week because of the injuries and sickness. Truthfully, we probably needed the day off, but you never like to see that. You know, there's something like 190 plus teams that have folded out of the United States in the soccer programming and pro soccer over the last 40 years. You know, I'm hopeful that the promotion, relegation, and monies that are coming into the USL and stuff change that in years to come. But it always shakes you up. You feel for the players, you feel for the coaches, you feel for the owners, you feel for the people that put infrastructure in there. I know Darren's worked really hard down there to build something. So I don't know if it really shook our group up as much, but a lot of those guys are finding homes now, which I'm really happy about. I just hope that everybody that was on that team and coached that team and stuff finds a place to work this year.
Yeah, definitely hoping the best out there, and that was a good organization. I am going to miss the mound out there, the mound of dirt. That was like our thing. Putting the attention back on the U.S. Open, coach. The team got drawn against Columbus Crew. Now, this will be your second time ever as Richmond Kickers head coach playing against the MLS side. 2022, you had Charlotte FC come up here. Third? Oh, DC United.
DC United.
I forgot that game because it wasn't televised. It was only on radio.
You should have been there, Elliot.
Hey, I couldn't make it. I forgot about that one. But this is your third. Obviously said there. As you prepare for these games, how do you prepare for these games against MLS side? Because we know these guys, the Kickers players are going to be upward because you're playing against higher up position. There's going to be more eyeballs on it. So how do you prepare for a game like this? Like, how do you keep everyone kind of level-headed and keep the main thing the main thing?
I'm a little lucky that I have a lot of experience both playing and coaching in both the MLS and USL. So I've been on both sides of this thing many, many times. Just to put those other two games to rest, if Terzaghi scores a penalty kick at the end of the game at Audi Field, I think we win the game because we were taking it over. Like, we were playing really well. And if you remember the Charlotte game, we were down 1-0 at home. We score a goal. Zaka scores a goal to start the second half, and we're flying. And then the referee blows his whistle for a free kick. We all come up to take the free kick. They take a quick free kick the other way because he called it the wrong direction. They score, and we're all standing around, and then the game just kind of fell apart for us.
Yeah.
I think in both of those games, I think the guys were ready for that. As it relates to Columbus this next Wednesday, right now our entire focus, particularly because we're fighting a bunch of injuries, is to get through Spokane, and we really need to get going on the league because we've had a hard start. But we'll assess after the game on Sunday. We'll look at what they have. We know they have games all week also. They also have the ability to pull from their second team. So we're not completely sure what they'll roll out, but we'll put out a team that's going to try to win the game. We'll tell you that.
Yeah. Does that make it any easier or harder for you, knowing that it could be, their first team guys, who are national team level players, or it could be MLS Next Pro guys who maybe you've heard of, maybe you haven't. Because I can see either into the spectrum of it'd be nice to know what we get, but if we don't know, if we just focus on ourselves, we don't have to worry about who the other guys are.
Yeah.
Well, first I would say we're not weak here. We're not scared. We're this year, Axel Aldana, Gallegos, Andrew Richmond, they've been in games. And, we saw what happened with Griffin Garnett, Landon Johnson, Beckett Howell, all these guys play. We're not scared of playing younger players. And I don't think Columbus is either. Their two team is very in sync with their first team. We're privy. We know those guys pretty well. So even if they bring guys up, we know how they're going to want to play. So we'll prepare for the guys that are their top players. And we know that if it's a second team group of guys, they're going to be just as ready because they'll have something to prove. They're trying to get a first team contract. So I don't know if we're going to prepare for them the same way. It's the Columbus Crew. We know how they're going to come at us. We just got to make sure we withstand that pressure early.
Yeah, maybe having Luca as a super sub again to come on and score the game winners is maybe the way to go in the U.S. Open Cup. So we know in the cup, you guys have been flying high, 2 wins, keep it going. But in the league, results haven't been there, and it's been very close. You look at the AV Ultra game, we're talking about a PK away from a win there. One knocks, you guys get a red card after going down a goal. And the FC Naples, I mean, not One Knocks. Yeah, One Knocks was a tight game as well, 85th minute winner. After you guys played very tough defensively there. What do you think has been the biggest difference between coming away with points versus falling just short in the league so far this year?
Let's talk through all 3 games really quickly. We went to Alta. They were better than us on the day. We defended our tails off and stayed in the game. We knew that going into the game. Again, Luca Dorado had been there for 2 days and played in it. Tariq had been there for 3. We knew what we were facing. I was really proud of the guys. And the reality is we scored on the run of play. Josh scores a goal for us, and then they call a penalty, which is absolute BS. If it's a foul, it's outside of the box. The guy was going down outside of the box. I don't even think it was a foul. So truthfully, that official gave the game away. So they were probably better in the romantic side of the game, but our game plan worked, and I think we should have got more out of that. Against Naples, we tuned out for 1 play. Literally, the rest of the time we defended really, really well. And the kid O'Connor flicks a header that Jan doesn't see late, and it goes into the back corner. But we had chances to score in that game, and there's no question that our attacking side, to answer your question, has got to grow. The same thing with Knoxville. We had chances to score against Knoxville. They're a very good team, and to give up a goal and take a playoff late in that game was also very, very frustrating. I think we could have got more out of both of those games. But I would say to you that, again, Tariq, Luca, Ali, Darwin missed the second half of preseason with an injury. Nils is still coming back from an injury from preseason. Guys that we need to attack for us are getting fully healthy and getting going. There's no excuse. We still needed to finish the things that we started, but it's not that we're not getting into areas. We just haven't been clean enough. We got to get better.
Yeah. So I have another player-based question for you, Coach. Austin Amer. For me, I'm watching the games, and personally, I'm not understanding what he brings. But then I look at all the stat sheets, and it looks like he's bringing a lot of good stuff. Like, what's the disconnect that I'm missing about him?
Austin's a guy that can play multiple positions. He's also a guy that is, if you're Bielsa, you would call him a link player. He likes to build the game, but he's usually the third midfielder in a midfield 3. He's the guy that is always in a position to help the 2 that are creating, or the guy that's defending. He picks up the second ball. Sometimes he's an unsung hero. He can defend. He can ping a long ball. He can create things in the attack. I think your biggest thing, not to let the cat out of the bag, but Austin, some of those things I alluded to earlier, Austin's had to deal with that over the last month. So he hasn't been at 100%. I don't think you've seen the best of him yet. But we've needed him to play, and he's gutted it out. I'm a big fan of him. I think that he can play in a couple of different spots, and I think you're going to see a couple of long range shots and things from him that are going to make you happy soon enough.
Okay, great. Because like I said, I look at all the stats and figures. I'm like, okay, this guy's obviously got something, and I just couldn't connect the dots. So I'm glad you were able to help me, kind of figure this out.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, when you look at the league results out there, but like you said before, it's about like building this up as a foundation. You're building the house, and I feel like the foundation of this team is being strong defensively, limiting a lot of chances in front of goal, and when we get our opportunity to hit, make sure we take care of it. Right now, when you look at the defensive structure of the team, how encouraged are you by that early foundation that the defense has set?
Look, this isn't an excuse, but when you're limited in what you can do in a preseason, you have to start somewhere. And we were very deliberate in the defensive side, regardless of formation. Okay. So I'm really happy with that. It's definitely the foundation of what we got, whether we're in a 4-back, a 3-back, a 5-back, whatever you want to call it. I know the guys understand what they need to do. The attacking side is usually the thing that comes last for us, and we're a little bit behind. We're working on catching up. I alluded to that. I think you're going to see our ability to attack improve. But the overarching thing, when I was here in the very beginning of being with the Kickers as a very possession-based coach, the game's evolved. And particularly in League One, if you look at the statistical data, the teams that really garner the most possession aren't necessarily the teams that win the most. It's the teams that win in transition moments. So if you're going to build that house, you're going to have to work to defend first. That's the thing that we put in place. Now, was it good enough against Naples and Knox? No, we gave up a goal because if we would have finished what we'd started, it would have been enough. But we got to put those two things together for sure. So yeah. Happy with the defending side of it. Still need to improve. But the soccer part of it, the romance and the attacking parts, they're getting better every day. We got to get healthier, and we just got to get more time under our belts.
What's all that?
I was going to say, Coach, you mentioned those, kind of league-wide stats and league-wide trends. Are there any other things that you're seeing around the league kind of come forth this year in terms of whether it's different styles of play or different just idiosyncrasies that are popping up that you're either surprised about or you're excited about seeing?
I think the transitional moments of the game are so key. I mean, there's teams like Naples that are winning games off transitions. The second thing is the set pieces. I mean, your set pieces are getting more and more important because the games are closer. I know Westchester scored a bunch of goals this last week, and those things are going to happen. But I think you're going to see a lot more 1-0, 2-1 games this year than you have in the past because the parity is really there, even though teams play a little bit differently. So, give me 5 more games next time we talk. If Rob hasn't decided to boot me out of here, we'll talk about it, and I'll be happy to talk through it. I would tell you that League One in particular, and even the championship, if you look at the statistical data, if your transitional moments are good, you're going to be more successful, not just attacking, because the teams that are good in defensive transition stay in games. If you're good in defensive transition and you're decent at set pieces, you're going to win more games than most.
I want to go back to something you brought up earlier about how you said when you first came into the Kickers, you were a possession-oriented coach. And I'm hearing you just talk about now, like, focus on the transition moments and learn it. Like, what was the hardest curve for you as a coach, like having to learn and be like, this goes against like maybe all my principles or everything that I believed in to get to how you are now as a coach? If that makes sense.
Well, one, I think you got to grow, learn, be humble, and evolve. I'm trying to learn all the time and grow. But the second part is if you're going to play a possession-based rhythm game, you need to have consistency and you need to keep guys around. That's hard to do in Richmond. You got Neil Vinyals crushing it in Spokane. Ethan Bryant, Johnny Bolaños, and Chandler all joined Mika down in the Sunshine down in Sarasota. It's hard for us to keep those guys around. And it's harder to play a possession-based game if you're changing your team a lot. It's less difficult to do it if it's a transitional type game. And like I told you, most of the teams changed a lot. Like even you take a team like Naples, who's doing really well, he had a lot of changeover. And Knoxville, Ian's done a good job. He went after some good players, but he had a lot of changeover. It's just kind of what League One is. So you try to look at what the modern trend is, and in our league, you got to defend well. If you want to win, you got to defend well in this league, and you have to transition well. So we work on it.
Yeah. If you don't mind me asking, can you give us an injury update? Because Tyler Freeman, we saw him get nicked in the game. O'Malley and Darwin as well, all offensive players that you've been talking about. But any injury update on how those guys are doing and progressing?
Yeah, I don't know where injury updates come from. They always say there's none, but nobody ever asks me if guys are hurt or whatever. So I don't even know who does that or how that even works. Truthfully, no one's ever even asked me. So yeah, we're dinged up, man. Ethan Koss has got an injury. It'll take a while. Sean Vinberg got hurt in our Open Cup game, so he's dinged up. Tyler Freeman got injured in the Open Cup, or the game before, excuse me. Landon Johnson's coming back from an injury. Sam Layton's fighting an injury. Darwin and Nils are both back in, but they've been out for a while. So some guys have had to step up. We're a bit dinged up at the moment.
Yeah. So it seemed like the injury bug is there, but maybe surely enough it's starting to get away.
Related to injuries, we did see, I guess it was a couple weeks ago now, that you all announced you brought Ryan Taylor onto the training staff.
Yeah.
So is this intentional, wanting to be able to bring back all the guys from the 2014, 2015 team and be able to kind of start I guess whatever the opposite of a Kickers USL 2 team, USL-O for old team.
Well, okay. So here's what I say to you, Matt. I'll try to say it as kindly as I can. I have no issue with anybody who ever played for this team, but there are a whole lot of people that played for this team and coached this team that have an issue with me. So that's not, Brian Obi and I are old friends. I helped him, do a certification last year. He was doing a master's degree and stuff. I helped him. So I got to really know him, and Brian's great. Ryan, I didn't necessarily know. And to be honest with you, he worked this off season with our 4 younger guys. So Griffin was there, Landon was there, Stedden and Beckett all trained the offseason, and I met him through those guys. They introduced me to him, and then I found out that he was a former goalkeeper, and then pretty quick, fast friends. So am I purposely identifying 2015 soccer players? No. But what an awesome two dudes, man. I mean, Brian is a massive addition. He's a winner. He's a great coach. He's an awesome person. Ryan is just an absolute character, and he's unbelievably good at what he does. And we're trying to get him more involved and to do more just because, the injury thing here, it's difficult. We're limited with our resources. So any good people we can bring on, we bring on.
I want to ask you this, like having those two guys that are obviously have links to the Richmond Kickers and whatnot, like, is that maybe as a fan, I'm looking too way in deep into it, but like, is that a big thing to have? Like guys that know the culture of what the Kickers could be at their heyday, like, know what the Kickers could be at that moment, like at their very best, to have those guys around the locker room?
I'm not sure what heyday means. I know we did win a trophy in 22, so I feel good about that. But I will say this. I'm willing to work with any people that are awesome people.
Mm-hmm.
You take Ombi for an example. You're not going to find a guy who's won more in pro soccer. I mean, he's a winner. He's a perennial winner. He knows how to win. He knows the killer instinct piece. He can help pass that on. So you want those people around. For me, when it comes to a pro club, I only know this as an example because I finished my career with the Seattle Sounders.
Yeah.
Like I get messages from them every day. They're like, come back for an alumni. This is what's going on. Darren, how are you doing? It's so great. Sorry you can't make it. And I got fired from there for crying out loud as a coach. So there's this massive history of bringing back the Sounders, and the Sounders are part of things. Like the entire organization is littered with people that have played there. All the youth in the area is, here it's just it's a little bit different. It's a little bit odd that way. So I would prefer that many former Kickers were involved with this, as long as they really want to be a part of growing the future of it and don't want to be stuck talking about 1990. We'd love to have them.
Yeah. I've been hating in terms of like, growing up as a Kickers fan, because I think Taylor played, back correct me if I'm wrong, Taylor played what, 2 or 3 years there?
Yeah. Oh, I think they're both really interesting. They're both Richmond kids.
Yeah.
Growing up, but they came from like completely opposite backgrounds. Like Ownby was like always, known as the guy in the area. He was playing like U20 World Cups, and Starboy going off to UVA, and getting drafted into MLS and all that. And Ryan, he was at Midlothian, high school, and what I want to say Radford. I might be wrong on that one, but worked his way up, like joined the team as the third keeper, and grinded his way up to the starting role eventually. So they kind of come from the two different sides, but both been able to achieve their goals. So I think it's a cool story that hey, you'd be identified early, you can be identified late, and still both be able to be successful from Richmond.
Look, to be very clear, if any former player or coach came, they're welcome at practice every day. I'll buy them a coffee. Please come out. Please share stories. Truthfully, that's been really limiting here. There's been some really good people that have come that are former players that I talk to, and I think it's great. I mean, the Richmond Kickers has such a magnificent history. There's over 30 years of pro football, continuously. It's a shame that there aren't more guys around, and that but truthfully, most of what I say is in jest. People move on and they do their things. We're happy to bring guys back. I think it's pretty obvious that Darren's pretty committed to the local area. I mean, our team is littered with kids from here, and we're happy to welcome back any former players or coaches. I think that only helps with the environment.
Yeah. So, Coach, you said Darren's committed to the area. You've been here, was this year 7? Now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious, what's the most Richmond thing that you fully outside of the soccer? What's the most Richmond thing about you now?
Oh man, I don't know. That's a tricky question. I don't know, Matt. What do you think? What do you think is the most Richmond thing about me?
I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know what you're doing when you're not coaching, because every time I ask you the question, it's like, this is a 24/7 job. So, Route 76. How do you pronounce that word?
Root?
No, the road the road name for it, something Parkway that as you head into Chesterfield.
Powhite Parkway?
Oh, wait, there you
Oh
go.
no, he's still.
I did. Hey, listen, I will say that my son, my youngest son, who's 22 now, is still out here with us, and we both say y'all and catch each other doing it. I've never said y'all before I got here, and I will tell you, I'm probably more friendly than people think that I am. Most people look at me and I look like an upset dad, but I'm really not. When I'm serious, I look angry, but if you walk through my neighborhood, everybody's like, "Hey, coach, how y'all doing?" And I always stop and talk. So probably I'm more conversational now.
All right. So maybe the flip side of the question: what's just the one Richmond thing that you just can't pick up, you can't adopt? You're like, no, this ain't me.
Oh man, you're killing me. I don't know. I can't. I'm not sure if I have that. There you go.
All
Right back at you. I don't think I have one.
All right. We'll see.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Well, I think that's a good point to end it on. Coach, as always, we just want to say thank you for taking your time out of your day for talking to us, man. I mean, hey, we got big games coming up, Spokane, Columbus Crew coming up as well. So we look forward to rooting you on there. Hopefully you guys can get to Spokane safely. Having gone through TSA doesn't seem too bad, but fingers crossed.
Look, our guys are ready to compete. We are a little bit dinged up, and this week coming up is going to be quite a challenge. We got Spokane and Omaha in our league that are both doing quite well, have built teams and spent money and stuff. So, Columbus is obviously a great challenge for the guys, but we're going to Spokane to get something done. And that's always going to be the plan with the Kickers.
There you go. There you go. Love to hear it. Well, folks, as that being said, we will holler at you guys next time. Be easy and be safe.